Our first reading is taken from Romans 13, chapters 11 through 14, which can be found on your Pew Bible on page 162. Besides this, you know what time it is, how it is now the moment for you to wake from sleep, for salvation is nearer to us now than when we became believers. The night is far gone, the day is near. Let us then lay aside the works of darkness and put the armor of light. And put on the armor of light. Let us live honorably as in the day, not in reveling and drunkenness, not in debauchery and licentiousness, not in quarreling and jealousy. Instead, put on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to gratify its desires. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Please stand as you are able for a reading of the Gospel. The Gospel reading can be found in your Christian text in your Pew Bible on pages 27 and 28. The Gospel according to Matthew chapter 24, verses 36 through 44. But about that day and hour, no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. As for as the days of Noah were, so will the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be in the field. One will be taken and one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together. One will be taken and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But understand this. If the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
I have two passages today that both kind of work together. The passage out of Romans. Well, they all actually work together today. But the passage out of Romans and our passage out of Matthew. In the passage out of Romans, I want to begin there. Paul is describing waking up in the morning. This is like that, your alarm's gone off and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, but it's still dark outside, and you're getting ready for the day. That's when Paul's message in the Romans begins. This is morning, and you're getting prepared for the day. You know the day is coming. You know it's coming because you've woken up to it, and the day is right there. It's just ahead of you, and it's coming, and you know this. And so you prepare for that. You prepare for that by getting dressed. You get dressed for the day, and you get ready to go out. And that's kind of what Paul's message is about, getting prepared for the day, being ready for the day to come. In Paul's time, there was kind of a belief that the second coming, that coming of Jesus was going to be imminent. I mean, it was like tomorrow. They're waiting for it. They know it's just around the corner. It's just a day away. It's just not that far in the distant future. It's really close by. That was their belief at the time. They kind of were looking for that because, Rome is oppressing them. They're under the captivity of Rome. They're not a free people. And they're looking for that coming, that second time, that the Christians at that time were looking for that opportunity when Jesus is coming back, and it's all going to change, and the whole world is going to change. But Paul in this message is actually teaching us something slightly different than that. He's teaching us a little more true theology of his day, of his people, of his time, and it's true for us today too. We are at that moment in the morning when we've woken up. And the kingdom is here already. And Paul is telling us the kingdom is here. Get up, get ready, get dressed, and go out and get to work. Because the kingdom is already here. We're already involved in it. It is now. And then the same thing with Jesus' message in our gospel message today. In our gospel message today, Jesus is talking about the kingdom to come. And again, Jesus knows this isn't going to come next week. This kingdom is already here, and yet we have to recognize that. And that's what Jesus wants us to recognize. The time is here. It's the same with Paul. Paul wants us to recognize the time is now. We are already in the kingdom. In order for us to make that kingdom come into true existence and actually be part of us, is we need to do those things that God asked us to do. Love our neighbor. Be kind to each other. Be kind to each other. And Jesus' little, it's not really a parable. He's just kind of making these statements that are kind of statements that lead in a direction, if we want to put it that way. And this first one in the gospel here, he talks about in the time of Noah. Now we know what happened in the story of Noah. Noah was informed that the flood was coming, and he built himself an ark, and he collected up bunches of animals. I'm not going to go into the details of all of that, but he collected up a bunch of animals. He and his wife and his children got into the ark, and everybody else was left outside. And as Jesus puts it, everybody else was just going on and living their lives. They were just like us every day. Getting up in the morning, getting dressed, getting ready to go to work, or getting ready to go out into the business, out into the day, going off to do the things we do. Everybody was doing exactly that. They were eating, drinking, getting married, and marrying other people off. They were just living their normal lives, not realizing that God was going to make a change in the world. Flood came, washes everybody away, and we're left with just Noah and his family to move forward. And Jesus in this is explaining to them to his apostles that the time is coming, the time is here, and be prepared, be ready. And that's the message for us. We must be ready. I know that he talks about there's two men in the field, and they're gleaning the field, they're working the fields, and all of a sudden one looks and the other one's gone. There's one left. And there's two women, and they're in that day, when they grind grain, it was usually two women together grinding the grain. It was this big stone that they would move, and the first one would push it, and the other one would push it back, and they'd be grinding the grain in a pair like this, working in tandem with each other, almost like you see the big lumberjacks, with that big saw out there working together. That's the same thing. These two women working together, and all of a sudden, as they're pushing this thing back and forth, one of them's gone. There's a few ways to look at this, but this is the way I'm going to look at it, is that Jesus is telling them to be prepared because you do not know when you are going to be the one that's gone. You don't know when you're going to be the one that's gone. Our lives are made out, and we live our life. We get up in the morning, we go to work, we do our things, and then all of a sudden something happens and we die. You weren't ready for that. You weren't prepared for that. We're looking ahead and saying, well, today I'm going to die, so I'm going to get all my stuff together. No, that's not how this works. Life is, and you just have to be prepared. And I think that's what Jesus says. We must be prepared. We must be ready to move into the kingdom. Prepare your life. Be ready. Do acts of kindness. Love your neighbor. Those are the things that are required of us. And just a couple of passages before in our Romans, just a couple of passages ahead of this, back in verse 8 or so, Paul tells the Romans that there is only one important rule for you to follow, Christians. Love your neighbor. Be kind to your neighbor. Paul says, in just a couple of verses before our reading today, he says, that is your requirement. That is what you need to do. The only thing you need to do is love your neighbor and treat them with kindness. And in doing that, you're preparing for the kingdom. You're preparing yourself for the kingdom, and you're preparing the world for the kingdom. Because until we all start acting with acts of kindness toward each other, and start loving each other in this true way of being in acts of kindness to each other, the kingdom is just going to be out there, just out of our reach.
And so it takes us to do acts of kindness, to loving each other, to make that kingdom stop moving ahead of us, and we step into it, become part of it. Amen.